All right, this is lesson 8-C, applications of percents, and this is a combination of lessons 8-6 and 8-7 in your book, pages 424 through 431. Let's talk about the different types of ways that percents are used. First thing we'll talk about specifically is a thing called a commission. A commission is a fee that's paid to a person for making a sale. The biggest place you probably have heard about this is real estate agents. So a real estate agent is somebody who sells a house to people, and they're paid. Let's do this example. They're paid $1,200 a month plus a 3% commission on their sales. So whatever they sell the house for, they get a bonus of 3% of that. Okay, they sold one house for $97,500. How much was the commission? And what were they paid in total for the month? Well, the first thing we have to do is find the commission. Okay, well, that's just 3% of, remember, of is our times, the amount paid for the house. Okay, so 3% changes to 0.03 times 97,500, and we see that they would earn $2,925. So their total for the month, if that was the only house they sold, would be their base salary of $1,200 plus the $2,925 that they got for selling that one house. And so there is a base salary of $4,125. The next type of percent problem is sales tax, and this you do every day. You go down to the store, you buy a gallon of milk, you buy a candy bar, you buy a pop, you're saying you may be paying taxes on it. Depends on what you buy, okay? But you may be paying taxes. So let's say we have a sales tax in our town of 8.25%. How much tax would you pay on a purchase of black printer cartridges at $52.88 and two color ones at $34.79? Well, first calculate your total price. So I have one black printer cartridge, and it costs $52.88. So 1 times $52.88 is $52.88. And then I look at my color ones. I'm buying two color ones at $34.79 a piece. So 2 times $34.79 gives me a total of $69.58, I would think. Let's see. Let's do that again. 79 and 79. That looks like it's written wrong. That should be an 8. There we go. Now we've corrected it. All right, so that's good. So now, when we total that up, we find our total price. Our total price is the addition of the first two numbers from our line item black color ink cartridge and the color ink cartridges. All right, and that's $122.46. So now we have to calculate the amount of tax. Well, the amount of tax is, when we calculate, when we calculate out the 8.25% sales tax that it told us that we had in our problem, that comes out to 0.825, and we multiply that times our original $122.46 total bill, and we get a $10.10, 0.295 cents. So that rounded, the 2 doesn't go anywhere. We round it to the nearest penny. We have $10.10. So how much tax would you pay on a purchase of those two? $10.10. If they wanted you to come up with the total price, you would then have to add our price to that, the number of taxes, and you would see 122.46 plus $10.10. So the total bill would be $132.56. But they weren't asking for that. They were asking for how much tax would be paid. All right. Now there's withholding tax. This is something that happens in your paycheck. When you get a paycheck, there's a certain amount of money that gets held out by the government so you can pay your taxes with it, okay? So at the end of the year. So let's say Joe earns $1,070 monthly. Of that, 160.50 is withheld for taxes. So what percent is being withheld? Well, we can set up, we're going to do this by either setting up a proportion or setting up an equation. So we're going to do it twice. Let's set up the proportion first, because I always like the proportion. We've got the part over the whole equals the percent over 100. Well, we know that we don't know the percent. So that's where our variable goes, and it's always over 100 in a proportion. Now we just got to figure out what's the part in the whole. Well, the withholding amount is the part. The total monthly paid is the whole. So 160.5 over 1070. Then when we cross multiply this way, we get 1070n. And when we cross multiply this way, we get 16,050. And then we divide both sides by 1070, and that comes out exactly to 15. So Joe is paying 15% for his withholding taxes. Now, if we go down to the equation version of this time we're saying to ourselves 160.5 is what percent of the total. So when we do that, we know that we're going to bring the 160.5 straight down. We know is becomes equal. We know of becomes our times. Our what number is n, and our total is 1070. So when you do that, you say divide both sides by 1070, and when you divide both sides by that, you get 0.015, and that gives us, when you convert that to percentages, that's 15%. And you'll see that we got the same answer in both problems. How about this one? Sally makes 14% on her candy sales.
Please come to the office. Allison, please come to the office.
So Sally makes 14% on her candy sales. If she made $791.70, how much were the total sales? So once again, I'd go right to proportion. I know that she makes 14% over 100 because it says so right there. Okay? I also know that she made this amount. We need to know how much she sold in total. So that's going to be the total, is going to be our N, or the total sales, the part we don't know. And the 791.70 is the part. So you cross multiply 14N equals 79,170, divide both sides by 14, and you get $5,655. If we go down here to the equation, okay, we think to ourselves, 791 is what is 14% of what number? Because we know the 791 is the part, and the what number is the whole. And we look at our is statement becomes our equal statement, our of becomes our multiplication, and we just bring down the 14% as 0.14, and the 791.70 comes straight down. Now we multiply or divide both sides by 0.014, and n is equal to 56.55. Once again, same answer in both problems. How about simple interest? Now this is the second half of the lesson. We've got a formula here. I equals, let's just go across here, P times R times T. And this is simple interest formula, which just says if you borrow money, you agree to pay back an X amount of interest rate for that money. And if you follow these rules, I is called the simple interest. So if you know that, that's where you'd plug it in. The P is the amount borrowed or invested, so for a loan or an investment. R is your rate, the percent charged or earned. And T is time, how long the money is borrowed or invested, typically in years for these examples. So JT, first example, borrowed $13,500 for 4 years at a 6% interest rate, and he's trying to buy a new car. So we set up our formula. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. So we know the principal, $1,350. We got that from right here. That's the amount of money that he is attempting to borrow. We know the rate is 6%. We got that from right there. And we also know the length, number of years is right there. So it's a simple math formula. We want to figure out how much interest he paid. We take the three numbers from above, multiply them together, and we get 3240. So JT paid $3,240 in interest for buying that car over 4 years. How much did he pay in total? Well, you take your principal amount, the amount he borrowed, $13,500, add to it the interest he paid, which we just calculated at $3,240, and that gives you your total amount. So there it is, $13,500 plus $3,240, and he ends up paying $16,470 over the 4 years for that car. All right, so now after that problem, we got this problem here, and this problem is Dari. She invested $3,000 at a 5%. She earned $525 in interest. How long was her investment? When we go back to our interest equals principal times rate times time. So that's our standard formula. This time we see that the interest earned was $525. We know that the principal was $3,000, and we know that we had a 5% rate, which is 0.05. What we don't know was how long was the investment. So our variable is the t here. So when you do all that math on the right-hand side, you get to 150. T equals 525. Divide both sides by a whopping 150, and you get 3.5. So Dari invested her money, $3,000, in 3.5 years. She was paid back her original investment of $3,000 plus $525. So she got back at the end of 3.5 years, $3,525. Okay, now we're talking about Raz. Raz borrowed $5,000 for 5 years. She repaid a total of $6187.50. What was her interest rate? So this time we know how much she started with, $5,000, and we know how much she paid, and we know how long it was. We don't know how much, and we know how much she paid. We don't know what her interest rate was. So first, calculate what her interest was. Well, if we remember that the total amount of the total amount is going to be the principal plus the interest equals your total amount. Okay, so we know the principal right here, 5,000. So there's our principal. We know the total amount, $6187.50, and by just doing simple math there, we subtract 5,000 from both sides. We now know that Raz paid $1,100.87.50 for her interest, but we're not asked to come up with her interest. We're asked to come up with her interest rate. So we have to go back to our original calculation, the formula, interest equals principal times rate times time, and now we can fill in all the parts except the rate. There's our variable for the rate. Our time was 5 years. We got that from our original problem. Our principal was $5,000. We got that from the original problem. And our interest is $1,187.50. We got that from our first step, calculating what the interest was. Multiply that out, you get 1187.50 equals 25,000 R. Divide both sides by 25,000, you get 0.0475. Move my decimal place over 2, and I end up with 4.75% in interest. And that is the end of the lesson.